the walls and how the view of it and everything, what it's supposed to get, and I'll get all that on video too. Like where you're looking through the walls, the siding.
Yeah, all right.
Go ahead and do that.
When I originally thought of this, I wanted it to look like the wall had been cut away, and you were just looking straight into a big hole right down at the racetrack. And I tried to do the cars where from the perspective view, the way you would see it, I had different types of glaze put on there at the point where, like, the windows would be more reflective and glossier than the body, so that when you walk different ways, you would see the window appearing to be translucent or transparent. And then I made the actual webbing in here for the drivers, the protective stuff, with real flat paint, so that it would stand out no matter where you, from what angle you looked at it, it would stand out more as a flatter area because of the way the seat melt material is. It's a flat material. Then when I did the walls and everything, and did the walls here, the way I had to position the slant of the letters and everything to give it the impression that you were looking kind of down at not a flat up and down wall area, but the wall is tilted because the track is tilted too. The way you're looking at it from this perspective, you have to see everything looking like the walls are tilted at a certain angle. So all these things I had to keep walking away from the paint and looking at it, and trying to make sure that I had all the different perspective areas according to the way they look in real life. And then with the line work for the white lines in the road, I had to measure these according to what I had in the photograph to get them the right proportions to the cars. And then the distance in between the line work had to be the right proportion to the way the cars looked on the track. I ended up with all the material that makes this stuff glow at night. These lines work real good. They glow at night. The lights work. I didn't put any beams coming out of them. It's just the lights glow, and then the numbers on the cars glow. And like I said, the letters here, the material was so thick that they'll glow very faintly if there's a fluorescent light. If a fluorescent light is placed, a strip light is placed about a foot over this on the wall to shine down here, it'll make all these glow real clean.
Right. This is a little malfunction with the battery. Go ahead, James.
All right. Anyway, this little area right in here glows too. Okay. All of these different areas. Now it's only the lettering on the cars. I mean the number 3 and the number 8, and then the headlights. I didn't work with any of the rest of the signs or the little decals or anything like that to make that glow. I just did those. Then I tried to paint this to make the cars look like they're just sitting on top of the road. Okay, to make them look,
they sure do that.
Look three-dimensional. And that's something I've been working on for years, trying to be able to cause things to look like they're not blended in with one solid painting, but items that are setting up off of the canvas. It's really hard to be able to think of a flat surface, a two-dimensional surface, think it into a three-dimensional surface, and make things appear to be out in space or could be out in space. That's one of the hardest things that you can do in painting a picture. Make things look three-dimensional. You have to forget that you're working on a two-dimensional or a one-dimensional. This thing is really, you know, the area here is flat. That's one dimension. The second dimension is sideways, or you're going out in different directions. But third three-dimensional has to be out this way. And that's what you have to think about. You have to forget that you're working on a flat surface, and you have to think that you're working in space and you're painting in space.
And that's just a 4x8 piece of plywood.
Right. And then I had to do, I was going to try to do the wall exactly like the wall at the gentleman's house over there, but I decided that I didn't really like the yellow color that the wall would have been. That would have been kind of a greenish yellow, and so I took it and made a wall like, if you saw, well, if you had paneling on the outside of your house and you just painted it a normal, like a canary yellow or whatever, and then doing the shadow work with just browns and golds to make it look like the strips where the wall was overlaying each piece. And then, like just doing the grass took me about 3 hours just to do the grass. I had to use 3 different brushes for that. I had to use a brush, the bristles were all spread out, and then a brush, the bristles were real nice and clean, and then I had to use one with, it just had about 3 or 4 bristles in it, period, just to make the extra detail. It took me a long time just to do that. And this yellow strip here, I painted this yellow strip 3 different times. Okay, I painted it by dabbing the brush with the bristles spread out to make it look like there was little rocks under there, to make it look like if you painted over an actual road, you're painting over gravel and tar all mixed together and stuff like that. So first I did that, I let it dry, then I did it again, and then I went over it with the brush flat, straight, sideways to make it look like there was little line work from cars running over it and usage and stuff like that. So even those, every one of those lines, that's just not taking a brush and painting a line on there. There's 3 or 4 different layers in each one of those lines. And this road, the road's got about 2 or 3 different layers of road. Okay, because I painted each one of those things like 2 or 3 different times. I painted the cars. I painted each one of these cars at least 3 times. I did a basic flat surface on the cars, then I drew the letters in, then I painted the letters in, then I painted over the entire car again with my next color of red, and each time I had to go around these letters individually to make sure that I wasn't covering any of the letters up. So that took a lot of time just to do that, and then I put the final finish on the car according to whether I wanted certain parts of it to be real glossy or just a dull gloss or whatever, or just flat opaque like those areas in there. And it all took a lot of time. And each thing had to be measured. All the items on this were like 6 times larger than the photographs I worked from. Okay, everything, the letters and all these things here, they were 6 times larger. Okay, so I had to measure everything and measure all the bars and the hurricane fence. Measured all that stuff over and over again to make sure that I was getting everything in the right perspective and the right dimensions according to how large the cars was and how tall the wall would have been. This wall, if you were looking at it straight on, it would be a lot taller than it is here. But you're looking at it, it's slanted in an angle, and you're also looking at it, it's getting smaller down there because you're further away from it down there. So all this stuff had to go into a point, a vanishing point somewhere out in space. Everything. There was so much to this, you couldn't just paint a picture. You had to measure everything, you had to do it over and over again, and so it took a tremendous amount of time.
It's absolutely beautiful.
And just, yeah, doing these tire marks, like right here, this tire mark, you can barely see it in there. I painted it to look like the tire actually hit as much as I could according to the way it was in the photograph, and then over the decals here where it rubbed some of the paint off of the decals. That was a lot of work right there. It took me a long time just to do that tire mark. It was a couple hours just to do that. And nothing here was done fast. Took a lot of time to do all these, and a lot of these decals I had to blow up from little photographs of decals. I had to blow it up so that I could see most of the writing and stuff like that. That was one that this Coke insignia, this Coke logo here. The Coke is the race flag, and I took that off of a Burger King NASCAR cup and blew it up large enough so I could see how the different squares of the flag, you know, were worked in order to paint it over the Coke area, over the Coke bottle. That was a little bit of work because I blew it up to like the picture was 4 inches, and then I had to shrink it back down to that size. So most of this stuff was blowing up and then shrinking it back down, and that took a lot of time to do too. So there was nothing on this painting that could be done real fast.
And you also got the gentleman's name put right underneath the...
I put his name in that area there, and I hope he likes that.
There's a lot
his wife showed it to him, and he looked at it. I think he's happy about it. That was something that was a suggestion from my daughter. She was looking at the paint, and we were trying to decide what to do with that one decal, because that decal was so bleary. No matter what I did, I tried to find out what it was, but I couldn't find out what the decal was. So it was so bleary, I couldn't make it out. So my daughter said, well, you know, maybe he might like to have his name put in there. And so she told my wife that, because I wasn't here when my daughter was looking at it, and my wife told me about it, and I said, you know, that would be a good idea. And so I worked with trying to make his name, you know, look just right, fit it in with all the rest of the decals. Anyway, all that worked out. Most of this stuff I had to watch videos, and I had to go to the library and get more photographs and read up on all these things. I did a lot of research just to get this painting done. That was a lot of work. I did a lot of copying photographs out of books and blowing them up. And then I watched the racing channel all the time I was working on this painting. Man, I'd be watching those guys everywhere. Talladega and Daytona. Watched all these old race car championships and stuff like that, and then some of the new stuff, and then they had some of the programs on there where they were building these cars, so I learned a little bit about the back windows here and how these are all cut to certain proportions and stuff like that, how every part of the car has to be built according to NASCAR regulations and stuff like that. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it. Finished. And I'm really happy that it's finished. This has been a lot of work. Really a lot of work. A couple of months. Sometimes I stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd be painting on this thing and my eyes would, they'd get so blurry I couldn't see anything anymore, and I'd have to stop. Really, really a lot of work. Now, I don't think I'm going to do any more. That's the last one, especially on plywood. That plywood is so heavy, man. It's so hard to move. So hard to move around. And we're going to put the chain on the back of it so it's not going to... Can't put a regular wire or anything on the back of this thing. It's too heavy. Put some chains on it so it can be hung up real good. I think from now on I'm going to go back to painting ocean scenes. They're easier to work with. I can paint an ocean scene in 30 minutes. Better than having to work 60 days on them. Well, it wasn't actually 60 days, but it was a lot of time. It was a lot of nights. Sometimes I stayed up 3 nights a week till 3 o'clock in the morning.